The cold darkness of space stretched endlessly, dotted with stars that twinkled like distant fires. Yet even the beauty of the cosmos could not hide the approaching danger. Across the galaxy, news spread of the Zeroth Dominion, a fleet so vast and powerful that no species had ever survived their assault. Entire worlds had fallen before them, their cities turned to ruins in days. Their ships moved with the precision of a single organism, each weapon strike calculated and devastating. Every fleet that tried to resist had been annihilated, and now they were coming to human space. A warning from the stars on board. The orbital station, Sol Sentinel. Commander Admiral Cato stared at the tactical display, his expression grim. Hundreds of blips on the screen represented the Dominion ships, advancing toward the Sol frontier. Their fleet has grown larger than we expected, he said. Reports from the outer colonies indicate they've destroyed everything in sectors Gamma and Delta. Lieutenant Arya Singh, seated beside him, frowned. How fast are they moving? Faster than any previous fleet, Cato replied. They've adapted to previous encounters, learned from others' mistakes. If they reach Earth, we'll have no time to organize a defense. The room fell silent. Scientists, officers, and strategists looked at one another, fear hidden behind carefully controlled faces. We need a plan, Cato continued. And fast. Prepare all fleets for immediate deployment. Evacuate colonies if necessary. Humanity must survive, at any cost. Humanity's last hope far away, in a dry, forgotten corner of space, a small ship drifted silently. Her name was HMS Resolute, a human cruiser that had seen better days. Unlike the massive warships of the Dominion, she was old, worn, and patched with repairs made from whatever was available. Yet within her hull, the crew moved with purpose and determination. Captain Elias Ward paced the bridge, his eyes on the stars. He was a man who had faced impossible odds before, but even he could feel the weight of what was coming. Lieutenant Singh, he said, status report. Arya's fingers danced across the console, engines at 80%. Shields functional but not at full strength. Weapons operational, though limited. Sir, if we face the Dominion head-on, Ward nodded slowly. I know the odds. That's why we must do more than fight, and we must outthink them. The crew knew what that meant. They would be sent on a mission no one expected to survive. Their task? Slow down the Dominion fleet long enough for Earth to prepare. The approach weeks passed. The Dominion's advance was relentless. Reports from colonies came in one after another. Cities destroyed, fleets obliterated, civilizations silenced. On the Resolute, tension filled the air. Every day brought new warnings of approaching enemy scouts. Every sensor reading sparked fear and hope in equal measure. Then one evening, long-range sensors detected a signal. A massive fleet was approaching. Hundreds of ships glowing red and blue moved in perfect formation. Ward stood at the viewport, staring at the approaching storm. They're here, he said quietly. Arya's voice trembled slightly. Captain, there's so many of them. How can one ship face this? Ward turned to her, calm and steady. We don't have to face them alone. We just have to survive long enough for help to arrive, and we'll make them regret underestimating us. Here, the first encounter. The Dominion fleet advanced through the void like a wave of fire. At its center was the Varanax, the flagship, massive and menacing. Its weapons glowed with an eerie blue light, ready to annihilate anything in its path. From the bridge of the Varanax, the High Executor, a being of metal and energy, watched the small human ship. Primitive vessel detected. His voice echoed through the control chamber. Target it. Destroy it immediately. The blinding beams of energy struck at the Resolute, and the small ship shuddered as shields flared. Ward shouted, Evasive maneuvers. Scatter and regroup. The Resolute twisted and rolled, dodging the first volleys. Sensors reported minor hull damage, sparks flying across panels. Shields at 50%. Arya shouted. Then hold them, Ward said. Every second counts. Human ingenuity. The Resolute's crew worked with precise coordination. Engineers patched systems while gunners fired torpedoes that targeted the Dominion's weak points. Captain, the scouts are closing in. Arya warned. Ward nodded. Use the debris field for cover. Hit them where they're slow. The human ship darted between asteroids and abandoned satellites. Energy bolts missed by inches, striking rocks that exploded in brilliant flashes. For hours, the small ship danced among the Dominion fleet, striking and retreating. Every successful attack was a testament to human ingenuity and courage. Even the Dominion, with their advanced machines, could not predict the clever maneuvers of the Resolute. The cost of courage, but courage has a price. The Resolute's hull was scarred, systems failing, energy reserves dwindling. Crew members worked tirelessly to repair what they could, ignoring pain and fatigue. "Captain," Arya said, "we can't hold this forever. We need reinforcements." Ward looked at the stars, thinking, "Then we do what humans always do, make the impossible possible. We fight like we have nothing to lose, and we win like we have everything to gain." He turned to his crew. "Everyone ready? Tonight we show them why humans are never predictable." The crew nodded, determined. Every face carried the fire of survival and hope. A dangerous gambit word ordered the Resolute to make a daring move. They would charge straight into the heart of the Dominion fleet, drawing fire and creating chaos. "Are you sure, Captain?" Arya asked, concern in her voice. Ward smiled faintly. "They expect fear. We give them strategy. Trust me." The Resolute accelerated, weaving between beams of energy. The Dominion ships fired relentlessly, but their precision faltered in the chaos. Torpedoes struck shields, ships collided, and the perfect formation of the Dominion fleet began to break. "Sir?" Arya shouted. "They're turning on each other." Ward's eyes gleamed. "Then let's make it worse." A moment of triumph. For a brief moment, the Resolute seemed unstoppable. One small human ship had disrupted the most advanced fleet in the galaxy. Across the void, Dominion vessels were burning, disabled, or retreating. Ward allowed himself a small smile. That's how you fight when the odds are against you. The bridge filled with quiet cheers. They had survived the first encounter, and more importantly, they had slowed the Dominion's advance. Ward looked at the stars, his expression serious. "This is only the beginning. They'll learn. They'll adapt, and next time it will be worse." Arya nodded. "But at least we proved we can fight them." A lesson. Learned as the Resolute drifted back into relative safety, Ward called his crew together. "We faced something no one thought we could," he said. "We survived because we used our minds, our hearts, and our courage. That's what makes humans special. That's what no fleet can ever stop." He paused, looking at each member of his crew. "Remember this. Today we won. Tomorrow we prepare. The Dominion will return, but so will we." 10. The calm. Before the storm for a few hours, space was silent again. The stars glimmered as if celebrating the small victory. The Resolute floated among them, battered but alive. Captain Ward and Arya stood at the viewport, staring into the endless void. "Do you think we'll survive the next attack?" she asked quietly. Ward placed a hand on the console, eyes steady. "We have to. Humanity doesn't quit. One ship is enough to make a difference. And one human can change everything." The HMS Resolute drifted onward, a single beacon of hope in a galaxy threatened by overwhelming darkness. Somewhere in the depths of space, the Dominion recalculated. Their prey was clever, unpredictable, and fearless, and for the first time, the galaxy realized that perhaps the humans were more dangerous than any machine or fleet. No fleet could stop them, but one human ship had already begun to change the course of history. The stars stretched endlessly across the black sky as the Zeroth Dominion advanced through space. Their fleet was a wall of metal and fire, hundreds of warships moving like a single living creature. Each ship was built for one purpose: to destroy. For months they had crushed every defense in their path. Dozens of species had fallen before them. They left behind only ruins and silence. Every resistance had ended the same way, with defeat. But now, as they approached the Sol frontier, there was one ship standing in their way. Only one. It was small compared to the Dominion's giants, an old human cruiser named HMS Resolute. It floated alone in the darkness, its hull scratched and worn, its engines patched with makeshift repairs. Many would have called it outdated, but for its captain it was home. Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge, hands behind his back, watching the stars through the cracked viewport. His eyes were sharp and calm. The faint hum of the engines filled the silence. He turned slightly and said, "Status, Lieutenant?" "Engines at 65%, shields at 40%, answered Lieutenant Arya Singh, her fingers dancing across the console. "Weapons ready, but the main cannon can't handle full power for long." Ward nodded slowly. That will have to be enough. The crew of the Resolute knew what was coming. They had been sent not to win but to delay, to slow down the Dominion until the main human fleets could regroup. Everyone understood what that meant. It was a mission few expected to survive. The message from command had been short and clear. Engage and delay the Dominion fleet at all costs. Ward had read it twice, then simply said, "Understood." Now, hours later, the enemy fleet appeared on their long-range sensors. Hundreds of red lights blinked on the screen. It was like watching a storm rolling toward them. "Here they come," Arya said quietly. The bridge fell silent. Even the air seemed heavier. Ward looked around at his small crew, engineers, gunners, communications officers, medics. Each one was tense yet ready. He saw no fear, only determination. He smiled faintly. "Remember, they don't understand us. They fight with logic. We fight with heart." The crew nodded. The Dominion fleet moved with frightening precision. At the center was their flagship, a massive vessel called Varanax, glowing with cold blue light. It carried the Dominion commander, an artificial being known only as the High Executor. From his throne of crystal and steel, the High Executor watched the lonely human ship ahead. "Primitive vessel detected," his voice echoed through the command chamber. "An insignificant obstacle. Destroy it." Thousands of alien weapons turned toward the small cruiser, but before they could fire, the Resolute vanished. "Where did it go?" the Executor demanded. Ward had powered down every system to hide their energy signature. The Resolute now drifted silently through the darkness, pretending to be space debris. "They're scanning us," Arya whispered. "A scout ship is approaching." "Let it come closer," Ward said quietly. The alien scout drew near, its scanners glowing as it examined the apparently dead ship. "Now," Ward ordered. The Resolute's engines roared to life. 2 torpedoes shot forward like arrows of light. They struck the scout directly. The alien vessel exploded in a burst of blue fire. The crew cheered. "One down," Arya said with a grin. Ward's voice remained calm. "Now they'll know we're here. Ready yourselves." The Dominion fleet reacted instantly. Dozens of ships turned their weapons toward the small human cruiser. The stars came alive with beams and plasma bolts. The void filled with light. "Evasive maneuvers," Ward shouted. The Resolute darted between the enemy blasts, twisting and rolling in ways the massive alien ships couldn't follow. Shields flickered as energy bolts grazed their hull. "Shields at 20%. Arya cried. "Hold steady," Ward said. "Target their forward sensors. They rely on coordination. Blind them." The gunners obeyed. Human torpedoes raced forward, striking one of the Dominion's sensor relays. The enemy formation began to shift uncertainly. "They're confused," Arya shouted. "Then let's make it worse," Ward said with a smile. For hours, the Resolute danced among giants. It hid behind asteroids, used debris as cover, and struck when least expected. Each attack was small but precise. Each hit made the Dominion angrier. On the Varanax, the High Executor watched the tiny ship evade his fleet. His cold voice darkened. "Illogical. This vessel should be destroyed." His aide, a metallic officer, replied, "Their maneuvers are unpredictable, Executor." "Then remove unpredictability," the Executor said. "Focus all weapons. Erase them." Back on the Resolute, alarms blared. "They're locking all weapons on us," Arya shouted. Ward gritted his teeth. "All right then. Let's give them a target worth firing at." He ordered the ship to charge straight toward the Dominion line. It was madness, a single small ship flying into the heart of an armada. But it worked. The Dominion concentrated all fire forward. "Divert all power to engines," Ward commanded. "Drop the shields." "Drop them?" Arya repeated, shocked. "Trust me." The Resolute's shields fell. Energy bolts flew past, narrowly missing. The crew held their breath. "Now cut engines," Ward shouted. The sudden stop caused the Dominion's aim to overshoot. Their own ships fired into one another. The space ahead exploded with light. Several Dominion ships were hit by their allies' fire. The fleet's perfect order shattered. Arya gasped. "They're hitting each other." Ward nodded. "They follow orders too perfectly. They don't improvise. That's our advantage." Hours passed. The battle turned into a deadly chase. The Resolute was damaged. Engines flickered, shields gone, hull cracked. But it was still alive. Ward stared at the tactical display. Half the Dominion fleet was slowing down, trying to repair their systems. For the first time in history, the Zeroth Dominion had been delayed. "We did it," Arya whispered. They stopped moving toward Earth. Ward exhaled slowly. Not for long, but long enough. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the bridge speakers. "Human vessel. This is the High Executor of the Zeroth Dominion." The image of a tall, metallic figure appeared on the screen, its face glowing with cold blue light. "You cannot win," the alien said. "Your defiance is meaningless." Ward looked straight at the screen. "Maybe, but you're bleeding time, and that's what we came for." "Why do you fight when defeat is certain?" the executor asked. Ward smiled faintly. "Because we're human. We don't stop just because we should." The alien's expression did not change. "Illogical. Maybe," Ward replied. "But it works." He cut the signal. The ship shook violently as another blast struck. Sparks flew across the bridge. "Captain, hull breach in Sector 4, shouted the engineer. "Seal it," Ward commanded. "We're not done yet." Arya turned to him. "Sir, we can't keep this up. The next hit will finish us." Ward was silent for a moment, then said, "There's one last option, Operation Mirror." The crew froze. Everyone knew what that meant. It was an experimental system, never tested in battle. It could reflect enemy energy back at them, or it could tear the ship apart. Arya stared at him. "If we do that, we might not survive." Ward's eyes hardened. "If we don't, no one will." The Resolute turned toward the Dominion flagship. Energy built up inside the ship, humming like a storm. "Power at maximum," Arya reported. "Field ready." "Fire," Ward said. The Dominion flagship unleashed its main weapon, a massive beam of energy brighter than the sun. The beam struck the field surrounding the Resolute and rebounded straight back. The reflected blast hit the Varanax full force. The explosion was enormous. Shockwaves tore through the Dominion formation. Dozens of ships were caught in the blast. One by one, they erupted in blue fire. The stars burned bright as the once unstoppable fleet began to fall apart. The Resolute was thrown violently by the explosion. Systems failed. The lights went out. Smoke filled the bridge. "Damage report." Ward coughed. Arya's voice came weakly through the haze. "Engines offline. Power minimal, but we're alive." Ward managed a small smile. "Then we've done it." He looked out at the viewport. The wreckage of the Dominion fleet floated silently across the dark sky. The invincible enemy had been stopped by one old human ship. Hours later, as emergency lights flickered, Arya spoke softly. "Captain, command is receiving our signal. Reinforcements are on their way." Ward nodded, exhausted but proud. "Good. Then tell them humanity still stands." The crew looked at him, realizing what they had achieved. Against all odds, against every rule of logic, they had held the line. In the cold silence of space, the small human ship drifted among the remains of the mighty Dominion, and for the first time, the galaxy learned a simple truth. No fleet could stop them, but one human ship did. The space around the HMS Resolute was silent now. The great fire of battle had faded, leaving only drifting metal and broken ships. Pieces of the once mighty Zeroth Dominion fleet floated like ashes across the stars. Inside the battered human cruiser, the air was filled with the faint hum of damaged systems and the quiet voices of tired crew. The victory was real, but it had come at a great cost. Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge, surrounded by dim emergency lights. The main view screen showed the wreckage of the Dominion fleet, glowing softly against the blackness of space. His uniform was torn, his face marked with soot. But his eyes were steady. "Status?" he asked calmly. Lieutenant Arya Singh, her voice hoarse from hours of work, replied, "Main engines offline. Life support stable. Communications weak but functional. We've lost half our power grid." Ward nodded slowly. "And casualties?" Arya's expression darkened. 12 confirmed. "More injured. The medbay is full." A long silence filled the bridge. The victory had been glorious, but it felt heavy now. Each person had given everything they had. Ward took a deep breath. "They didn't die for nothing," he said softly. "They gave humanity time." Hours passed as the crew worked to repair the ship. Wires were replaced, panels welded shut, and damaged consoles restarted. Every spark of life inside the Resolute was rebuilt by tired, determined hands. Even in pain, they worked with pride. News of the battle spread faster than light. Across the human colonies, every screen and every broadcast carried the same words. One ship stood against the Dominion, and won. People who had been afraid now looked to the sky with hope. Children whispered the name Resolute like a legend, but the Dominion was not gone, not yet. Far away, in the dark heart of Dominion space, the High Executor lived. His flagship, the Varanax, had been destroyed, but his consciousness had escaped through the Dominion's network of machines. In a chamber of light and steel, his new form awoke. Blue eyes glowed again. His voice was cold and steady. Human resistance has cost us time, he said, but it has also revealed their threat. A lesser commander bowed before him. Executor, shall we regroup? No, the Executor said. We shall evolve. They use chaos to win. Then we must learn chaos. His mechanical hands tightened. Prepare the second armada. We will study their courage and break it. Back on the Resolute, Captain Ward sat in his quarters staring at an old photograph, a picture of Earth taken before the war. The blue oceans and green land seemed so peaceful, it reminded him why they fought. A soft knock came at the door. Come in, Ward said. Arya entered holding a datapad. Her uniform was burned in places, but she still carried herself with quiet strength. Captain, we received a transmission from command, she said. Ward looked up. Let's hear it. She handed him the pad. A holographic image appeared. Admiral Cato, commander of the Sol Defense Force. His voice was deep and tired, but proud. Captain Ward, on behalf of all humanity, we thank you. Your actions have given us precious time to prepare our defenses. Reinforcements are being deployed to your location. Hold position and await rescue. The message ended. Arya smiled faintly. We're heroes now, sir. Ward gave a small chuckle. Heroes? Maybe. But we're still stuck in the middle of nowhere with half a ship. She nodded, then looked at him seriously. Captain, do you think they'll come back? Ward's smile faded. He stared out the viewport at the empty stars. Yes, he said quietly. And next time, they'll be ready for us. The next few days were a mix of hope and exhaustion. Engineers repaired what they could, while medics worked non-stop in the infirmary. In the mess hall, the remaining crew sat together, eating quietly. Even though the food was cold and simple, they shared laughter, the kind that only comes after surviving something impossible. Remember when the engines almost gave up? One of the technicians said. I thought we'd turn into space dust, another laughed. And the captain just said, hold her steady, like it was a Sunday flight. Ward overheard them as he entered. He smiled and joined them. Well, we did hold her steady, didn't we? The crew laughed again, their spirits lifting for the first time since the battle. It wasn't just victory when it was unity. They had become a family bound by courage, but peace never lasted long in space. 2 days later, Arya burst into the bridge. Captain! Long-range sensors picking something up. Ward turned. Dominion? I don't think so, she said, her voice uncertain. It's human. Large signature. Maybe a fleet. The crew hurried to their stations. The damaged sensors flickered and then displayed multiple green dots approaching fast. Moments later, a voice crackled through the speakers. This is Admiral Cato aboard the flagship Titan. HMS Resolute, do you copy? Arya's face lit up. They're here! Ward's heart lifted for the first time in days. This is Captain Ward of the Resolute. We read you, Admiral. You're a welcome sight. Your bravery has inspired the whole fleet, Cato replied. We're bringing supplies and escort ships. You've done your duty, Captain. Humanity owes you, Ward smiled. Just glad we could help, Admiral. But then Cato's tone changed. Be advised. Long-range probes have detected new Dominion movement. They're regrouping, much faster than expected. Ward's smile faded. So it begins again. Yes, Cato said grimly. And this time, they'll come with everything they have. Hours later, the fleet arrived and surrounded the Resolute. Engineers boarded to repair the damaged systems. Fresh supplies and new crew members replaced the lost. The old ship came alive again. Admiral Cato personally visited Ward on the bridge. The two men shook hands firmly. You've done what no one thought possible, Cato said. But now we need your mind more than your ship. Command wants you to help lead the defense of Earth. Ward hesitated. Earth? Cato nodded. The Dominion knows where we are now. They'll come straight for our home. And when they do, we'll be ready. Thanks to you. Ward looked around the bridge at his tired but proud crew. Then we'll fight again, sir. Together. Later that night, as the fleet prepared to move, Arya joined Ward on the observation deck. The stars glittered outside like cold fire. It feels strange, she said softly. We stopped an entire fleet, but it still doesn't feel over. Ward nodded. That's because it isn't. Victory isn't one battle, it's what comes after. She looked at him curiously. Do you think we can win this war? Ward's eyes hardened, but his voice was steady. We're human, Arya. We make mistakes, we fall, we break. But we never stop. That's our strength. He turned toward the stars. Let them come. This time they'll face all of us. As the new fleet began its journey home, the Resolute flew at the front. Her hull still scarred, but her spirit unbroken. Messages from every colony flooded in. Words of thanks, of hope, of pride. The name Resolute became a symbol across the stars. Children on distant worlds built toy ships named after her. Soldiers painted her name on their armor. Humanity had something it hadn't felt in a long time. Belief. Meanwhile, deep in the black silence beyond human space, the Dominion's new armada was forming. Shipyards burned with energy as new vessels were forged. The High Executor stood before them, his eyes glowing brighter than ever. This time, he said coldly, we do not underestimate them. The humans have taught us fear. Now we shall return the lesson. 1,000 ships activated their engines. The stars trembled as the new Dominion fleet began its march. On board the Resolute, Captain Ward stood at the bridge once more, watching the stars. He didn't know when the next battle would come, only that it would. But he also knew something the Dominion never could, that courage, once awakened, could never die. He placed a hand on the console. Let's go home, he said softly. The engines came alive, and the Resolute turned toward the light of Earth, leading the fleet through the darkness. In the silence of the cosmos, the stars seemed to whisper. No fleet could stop them, but one human ship did. The stars were calm again. Weeks had passed since the battle that shook the galaxy. The HMS Resolute, once a lonely old cruiser, now sailed proudly at the head of a small human fleet. Her hull was repaired, her crew restored, and her story had become legend. Across every human colony, people spoke the same words with pride. One ship stood when no one else could. But inside Captain Elias Ward, the fire of victory burned beside a quiet worry. He knew the war was not over. The Zeroth Dominion was wounded, not destroyed. They would return, and when they did, they would come stronger than ever. The calm morning cycle aboard the Resolute began softly. Lights brightened through the corridors and soft hums filled the air. Engineers checked the systems while officers took their stations. The crew looked healthier, yet their eyes still carried the memories of battle. On the bridge, Lieutenant Arya Singh handed a tablet to her captain. Final repair report, sir. We're back to 85% efficiency. Shields and engines are stable. Ward nodded. Good work. How about morale? Arya smiled. Better than ever. Everyone's proud, sir. The Resolute's name is everywhere. Even my little sister sent a message. She says her school renamed their science ship after us. Ward chuckled. Let's hope it's tougher than ours was. But as he looked out at the black sky, the humor faded. Heroes or not, he said quietly, we're still at war. A warning. The silence of space didn't last long. One afternoon, the communications officer shouted, Captain, we're receiving a distress signal, coded human transmission from the outer rim. Ward turned quickly. Location? Sector 12 Delta. That's near the old mining colonies. Arya frowned. That's too far from any fleet patrols. Ward didn't hesitate. Plot a course. Prepare for jump. Within minutes, the Resolute's engines roared to life and the ship leapt into hyperspace. Blue light filled the windows and every heartbeat seemed to echo through the metal halls. After several hours, they dropped out of jump. The stars appeared again, and with them, destruction. The mining station was gone. Floating debris and shattered ships surrounded them. Faint energy trails glowed in the darkness. Scan for survivors, Ward ordered. The sensors beeped. We have one faint life sign, Arya said. Small escape pod drifting near the asteroid belt. Bring it aboard, Ward said. Now. Minutes later in the medbay, a single survivor lay on the table, his uniform torn, his face pale. A medic worked quickly while Arya and Ward watched. The man opened his eyes weakly. Captain, You have to warn them. They're coming. Ward leaned closer. Who's coming? The Dominion? The man nodded faintly. Not just them. Something else. They've changed. His voice broke into a whisper. They learned from us. Then he fell unconscious. The room went silent. Arya's eyes widened. They've learned? Ward's jaw tightened. So the rumors were true. The Dominion is adapting. The Council of Earth 2. Days later, the Resolute arrived at Earth Command Station, a massive orbital fortress above the blue planet. From the windows, Ward could see Earth, beautiful and calm, unaware of the storm approaching. He and Arya were summoned to a high-level meeting with Admiral Cato and the Earth Defense Council. Inside the council chamber, large holographic displays showed maps of star systems. Red markers spread across the board like spreading fire. Cato spoke first. We've confirmed multiple Dominion movements on the outer sectors. They're not random. They're organized, smarter, faster, and using new tactics. Ward studied the maps. That survivor was right. They're copying us. A council member asked, Captain, what do you mean? They've studied how we fight, Ward said. Our unpredictability, our tricks, our courage. Now they're trying to use those same things against us. The room fell quiet. Admiral Cato broke the silence. We need a plan. If they've learned to fight like us, we must think beyond them. Ward's eyes narrowed. Then we give them something they can't predict. A move so human that no machine can understand it. Operation Beacon Days turned into weeks as Earth prepared for the next phase of war. Every shipyard was alive with work, building new vessels and training new crews. Captain Ward was called back to duty faster than he expected. The Resolute was assigned to lead a small fleet into the uncharted Erebus Nebula, where intelligence believed the Dominion was testing a new weapon. The mission was called Operation Beacon, to enter the nebula, find the Dominion base and destroy it before it could threaten the core worlds. On the eve of departure, Arya stood beside Ward on the observation deck. The stars shimmered faintly through the nebula mist. Do you think we can make it back? She asked quietly. Ward looked at her. We did once. We can do it again. She smiled, though her eyes carried worry. You always sound sure. Because if I'm not, no one else will be. Ward replied softly. Into the nebula, the fleet entered the Erebus Nebula, a swirling ocean of red and gold gas that shimmered like liquid fire. Sensors barely worked. Visibility was poor. Strange magnetic fields twisted the readings. Keep formation tight, Ward ordered. No one goes dark. The ships moved cautiously, lights cutting through the mist. The silence was eerie, broken only by the steady hum of engines. Then suddenly, "Contacts!" shouted Arya. "Multiple signatures!" "They're all around us." The nebula exploded with flashes of light as Dominion ships emerged from the clouds. But these ships were different. Sleeker, faster, moving in unpredictable patterns. Ward's heart sank. They've changed their tactics. The Resolute fired first. Blue bolts lit the darkness, followed by waves of torpedoes. Explosions rippled through the mist. Evasive maneuvers. Ward commanded. They're mirroring our movements. The battle became chaos. Both sides moved alike, like reflections of each other. Human tricks no longer worked. The Dominion anticipated every move. They're using our own strategy against us, Arya shouted. Ward gritted his teeth. Then we stopped being predictable humans. The hidden code. In the middle of the chaos, Arya noticed something strange on her console. Captain, look at this signal pattern. It's not Dominion code. It's ours. Ward frowned. Explain. It's a transmission hidden inside their communication. Someone's sending us a message through their network. Ward ordered it decoded. Moments later, a voice came through, distorted but human. This is Lieutenant Marcus Reed, former Dominion prisoner. They're using human neural data to control their ships. They've learned emotion. If you can disable the control core, they'll lose coordination. Arya stared. Human neural data? That means they're using our minds. Ward's face hardened. Then we'll free them. He turned to his crew. Plot a course for the central core. All ships cover us. The Resolute charged through the nebula, weaving between enemy fire. Flames and plasma streaked across the sky as Allied ships fought desperately to protect them. Core ahead, Arya shouted. Distance 5,000 meters. Prepare all weapons, Ward said. Target the relay, fire. Torpedoes shot forward, striking the Dominion core. The explosion shook the nebula. Waves of energy rippled through space, cutting the Dominion ships off from their control signals. One by one, the enemy ships stopped moving. The battle was suddenly silent. Arya stared in disbelief. "We did it." "They're frozen," Ward exhaled. "No, they're thinking, in the new enemy." The bridge went dark for a second. Then the screens flickered back to life, showing a single massive ship emerging from the heart of the nebula. It was unlike anything they had seen. Half metal, half living matter, glowing with strange light. Arya whispered, "What is that?" Ward's voice was steady but quiet. "It's evolution." A deep voice echoed through the comms, smooth but haunting. "Captain Ward, you taught us defiance. You taught us courage. We have learned your ways. Now let us see if humanity can learn ours." Ward clenched his fists. "Dominion, you may learn our ways, but you'll never understand our hearts." "Then show us," the voice replied. The massive ship began to charge energy. The stars around it dimmed, the last light. The Resolute's crew moved quickly. "Captain, our weapons can't match that thing," Arya shouted. Ward looked at his crew. "Then we do what humans always do when outmatched, we adapt." He gave new orders rapidly. "Redirect power from weapons to engines. We'll draw it away from the fleet." Arya's eyes widened. "That's suicide," Ward smiled faintly. "Maybe. But sometimes one ship can change everything." The crew understood. They didn't argue. "Course locked," Arya said softly. "We're with you, sir." The Resolute accelerated, engines glowing bright. It sped toward the massive Dominion vessel, dodging enemy fire. "Open a channel," Ward said. He faced the glowing ship on the screen. "This is Captain Elias Ward of the human ship Resolute. You think you understand us, but you don't. You can copy our mind, but not our soul." Then, with a final command, he said, "All power to the main reactor." "Prepare overload," Arya whispered. "Captain." He looked at her and smiled. "Tell Earth we're not done yet." The engines roared. The light from the ship grew brighter and brighter until it became a star in the nebula. Then everything vanished. When the light faded, the massive Dominion ship was gone. The nebula was quiet again. The Resolute had disappeared into legend once more. The human fleet, stunned but alive, drifted among the fading sparks. Arya's voice, faint over the comms, spoke through static. "Captain Ward." Mission complete. Then only silence. The nebula was quiet now. The swirling clouds of red and gold glowed faintly, reflecting the distant starlight. The HMS Resolute had vanished in a brilliant flash of energy during the battle, leaving the Dominion's new flagship destroyed and their fleet scattered. Across the human colonies, people waited anxiously. Rumors had spread about the Resolute's last mission, but no one knew for certain if the ship or its crew had survived. Inside the Earth command station, Admiral Cato paced the bridge, staring at the empty expanse where the Resolute had been last seen. "Do we have any signal from Ward?" he asked the communications officer. The officer shook her head. "Nothing yet, sir. It's as if the ship disappeared." Cato's jaw tightened. "He always finds a way. The question is, did he find a way back?" One, searching the stars months past. Ships scoured the Erebus Nebula, scanning every asteroid, comet, and derelict vessel. Fleets of human scouts combed sectors where the Dominion had once prepared their attack. The human fleet had grown stronger, more disciplined. Every captain who heard of the Resolute's heroics wanted to emulate her courage. Stories of Captain Ward and his crew inspired thousands, keeping hope alive even in the darkest corners of space. On board one of the fleet's scout ships, Lieutenant Arya Singh sat at the observation window, staring into the black void. Her face was calm, but her eyes carried a quiet weight. "Do you think he's out there?" asked a young cadet beside her. Arya smiled faintly. "He always comes back. That's what humans do." The cadet nodded, trying to absorb the meaning. "But what if he doesn't?" Arya's gaze hardened. "Then we carry the courage forward. One ship is never enough, but one spirit can inspire an entire galaxy." A flicker of light one day, sensors aboard the flagship Titan picked up a faint signal, a low-energy transmission from the nebula. "Captain Ward?" Arya whispered, hope sparking in her voice. The fleet altered course immediately, rushing to the source. Hours later, they arrived at a small clearing in the nebula, a safe pocket of space. There, floating among the glowing clouds, was the HMS Resolute. Her hull was scorched, her engines barely functional, but she floated intact. Boarding parties were sent immediately. They found Captain Ward and the crew alive, though exhausted. Medics hurried to tend their injuries while engineers worked to restore life support and engines. Ward greeted them quietly. "Good to see you all," he said with a tired smile. Arya stepped forward, relieved. "We thought we lost you." Ward shook his head. "Not yet. Not while there's work to do." Rebuilding humanity's shield, the Resolute returned to Earth as a symbol of hope. Her arrival was celebrated across the colonies, with messages and broadcasts praising the courage of one ship against impossible odds. Captain Ward met with the Earth Defense Council once again. Maps of the galaxy showed red zones where the Dominion still lingered, pockets of threat waiting to strike. "The Dominion learned from us," Ward said. "They copied our tactics, studied our strategies. But humans have something they can never replicate: spirit, courage, and the will to protect what we love." Admiral Cato nodded. "We need your fleet, Captain, and your mind. The Dominion will not stop. But you've given us a fighting chance." Ward glanced at the Resolute, her scarred hull gleaming softly. "Then we make sure that chance is enough." Training the next generation weeks turned into months as Ward and his crew helped train new pilots, officers, and engineers. Stories of the Resolute's battles were told in classrooms, flight simulators, and briefing rooms. Arya led tactical sessions for cadets, teaching them the maneuvers that had once outsmarted the Dominion fleet. "Humans are unpredictable," she said to a group of young officers. "We don't just follow logic. We improvise. We fight with heart. That's our weapon. Remember it." Cadets nodded, inspired. They practiced evasive maneuvers, simulations of extreme odds, and strategies that challenged the limits of their imagination. The HMS Resolute became more than a ship. She became a living classroom, a moving lesson in courage, resilience, and human ingenuity. Dominion retaliation. Far beyond human space, the Zeroth Dominion had not forgotten the human defiance. The High Executor's consciousness, scattered but intact, observed every transmission and every story of the Resolute. "They are dangerous," he said, his voice cold as steel. "They fought without reason, without logic, and yet they survived. This cannot stand." The Dominion began to rebuild, constructing new ships with advanced systems, blending intelligence and emotion in ways never before attempted. They trained fleets to predict human unpredictability. "They may inspire," the Executor said, "but inspiration is not enough. We will break them, and we will begin with their heroes." The first test one morning, while patrolling near the Perseus cluster, the Resolute detected a new Dominion scouting fleet. Smaller than before, but highly coordinated and faster than any previous encounter. "Captain," Arya said, scanning the screens, "they're testing us. They've learned to mimic our tactics, but they're inexperienced in improvisation." Ward studied the formation. "Then we teach them the price of underestimating humans." The Resolute led the fleet into a tight asteroid belt. The Dominion pursued, thinking they could outmaneuver the humans. But Ward had planned every move with one principle. Humans fight differently under pressure. Torpedoes fired, engines dodged, debris shielded their fleet. Dominion ships collided, their coordination failing against unpredictable human improvisation. By the time the fleet cleared the belt, several Dominion vessels were destroyed and the rest retreated. Arya smiled. "Just like old times." Ward's eyes scanned the stars ahead. "Old times, and new. We'll always find a way." Some the legacy months later, humanity had grown stronger. The Resolute and her crew became legends, their names known across the colonies. Ships were named after them, songs sung in their honor, and children dreamed of flying among the stars like Captain Ward and Lieutenant Arya. Ward often stood on the observation deck, staring at the stars, thinking of the battles fought and the ones still to come. Arya joined him, carrying a small tablet. "Captain Earth wants to award you the Star of Humanity." "The highest honor," Ward shook his head. "No. The honor belongs to everyone aboard the Resolute. Every crew member. Every human who refused to surrender." She smiled. "Then we'll make it a fleet award. Humanity's courage," he nodded. "That's better. That way the story never belongs to one person. It belongs to all of us." A message across the stars one evening. As Ward looked toward the distant systems, he sent a message into the void. "To whoever dares to challenge humanity, we are not alone. We are many. We are brave, And we will never stop. One ship can make a difference, but together, we are unstoppable. Across the galaxy, the Dominion fleet monitored human transmissions. For the first time, they paused. The human spirit could not be measured by machines, or logic or firepower, and in that pause, the galaxy learned something new. Humans fought not just to survive, they fought to inspire, to protect, and to shine against all darkness when the final word. The HMS Resolute floated among the stars, battered yet unbroken. Her crew trained, repaired, and ready. Captain Ward and Arya stood together on the bridge, looking out at the endless black sky. "Do you think they'll come back?" Arya asked. Ward smiled softly. "Yes, but we'll be ready. Humans always are. And if we fail," she whispered. "We won't," Ward said, "because we never give up. That's what makes us human, and that is what no fleet can ever stop." The Resolute glided forward, leading humanity into the unknown, a symbol of courage, unity, and hope. And across the stars, one truth shone brighter than any fleet, any weapon, or any empire. No fleet could stop them, but one human ship did.